Welcome. Oh shit, I can hear me. Welcome to the world of Q&Asa. I have a massive echo because I started with some monitoring and I sound horrible in my own ears. And now that's gone. So, welcome everyone. This is a cluttered, different Q&Asa because Sony have rudely decided to schedule State of Play at the same time, and that kicks off in 1 minute. So what I'm going to do, I figured rather than delay or cancel this, we'll just let State of Play run in the background, eh? So no time for a word from our sponsor, but everything else we'll get on to running as usual once that's done. It's expected to be 45 minutes, I think. They're going to be showing us 5 virtual reality games, some other number of Pancake games, and an extended look at Suicide Squad. Who's looking forward to that? Everyone, surely. Tony's here, or was here, he might have left. Isla's here, Chris Blackburn's here already. I didn't tell anyone I was going live particularly. I've been a bit slapdash, haphazard and rushed to get here. Yes, so of course you were summoned, Tony. So I have let everybody down and used a repeat background. This is an old one that I've had before. I'm so sorry. I'll do better next week. 6 seconds. Let's bring this up. So hopefully, I don't know what the tone of this will be, but hopefully we'll be able to get some talking at the same time. Let's mute that OST for a minute. Hopefully State of Play will be at a comfortable volume for everybody. Did I tweet the thing that pushed you over the edge? I don't know what I tweeted. No, sorry. So, State of Play has begun. Patrick is here, watching it as well. Should we go full screen for State of Play for a minute? Here we go. So they're starting with a little sizzle reel for the PlayStation VR2, which of course we'll talk about a bit later on in the show. I played it a bit more today.
Welcome to our first State of Play of 2023. We've got a lot to show you, including an in-depth demo
Tony, you've got a lot to show us.
Squad Kill the Justice League. But first, PlayStation VR2 is finally
here.
Let's dive right in with a look at 5 games arriving.
PlayStation does VR. I does VR. It's a match made in the sea. Right, so here's a game called Foglands or something. I've never heard of it. It's got zombies. That is an entirely unique and original concept. So my mind is blown. It's got cards, tarot cards. I can try, Isla, or if you have it and you can tweet it, I can retweet it. That might be easier. I'm good at retweeting things. So, who's looking forwards to PlayStation VR 2? You know the way that this show normally runs. We talk about what we're playing at the start of it, but we're going to just shift that to a little bit later and let some of this run first. It's very brave to go and release a new virtual reality game that sees you in first person fighting zombies. Very brave because half the games available are that exact same thing. Will this one be better than the rest? Hard to say. Not that hard. I don't think it's going to be the best one, but it looks alright. Am I buying all the games shown today in VR? Kratos? No, probably not. I haven't bought all the games that are available already. I will talk a little bit about how I'm going to split what I buy, where and when and why and all of those questions. This must be Green Hell, I think. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I've been playing a bit of the PlayStation VR stuff today, obviously, and we'll talk about it today, obviously. I got a little further in my discovery and experimentation than I had yesterday when I did it all live. Just sell one of my Ferraris to buy the games. Patrick, if I had one, I would do that, for sure. Top chat, no points for Tony. I was already on live chat. He thought Xbox was going to get into it. So don't be like awfully jealous of it though, Chris, because at least you have some VR, right? I very much wish that Xbox would get involved or at least support it, like their games in the PC space for the people that have that. What am I looking at now? That's not Green Hill. This is a game that does not suit the strengths of the PlayStation VR2, which I will get to a bit later on. I think the art style on display in this one looks kind of nice in 2D on a Pancake screen. So I'm sure it looks even better in VR, but it will expose some of the issues with the screen, of which there are a couple. Rumour, Forza Motorsport, virtual reality incoming. I've been waiting so many years, Tony, that is not a rumour that can catch my attention. Synapse, okay. Oh, Endreams are a good studio though, so that might be brilliant. Endreams have 3 studios. I will keep an eye on it. To succeed, planning alone is insufficient. One must improvise as well. I do neither thing well.
The empire will fall.
So we've got an empire. We've got
our galaxy will be plunged into 30,000
these people
of chaos and war.
Thank you for saving us the effort, Dragon.
We can't stop it.
Kratos, you've heard a rumor from Wario64 about Metal Gear Solid 3 and Castlevania from the next Konami showing, so not today. I think there was a fair number of games they were planning to show, like Pancake-wise, at this event as well. I don't think any like massive bombshell announcements, but pew pew pew, that gun sounded pathetic.
Dying empire, or help us to reach
Shooter.
foundation.
Oh, this player does not play games in the same way I do. So Journey to Foundation, not one that I've heard of. More VR games is a good thing, right? Do Konami even have game shows? Do Konami make games?
See that tower out there?
Would they have a show where they showed things?
That's where
Skybound is another big VR studio.
Gatekeeper.
I like this.
To be judged.
I always wanted to be
Your
judged.
life. You're gonna show it to me.
Oh, is it before your eyes?
Just think back.
Okay, I know this game already.
First,
Rubik's Cube Simulator. That would be better in VR than it would in Pancake for sure, but it still wouldn't be much fun.
you're going to jump forward in time.
Konami did do the Silent Hill multiple projects, didn't they? Good point.
Hey, you. Come over here.
While this is playing and we're all thoroughly engrossed in State of Play, I'm just going to find this tweet.
The only way to fight against time is to create a genius, which might live on after you're gone.
Close your eyes now.
So let's assume that there's going to be some quiet trailers as we go
Matter of time.
and get some chat going at the same time.
You're ashamed of something.
So tell me,
Something so terrible.
I'm particularly looking for feedback actually on 2 particular games that I haven't been playing. I haven't been playing Atomic Heart, and I haven't been playing that other Heart game, Wild Heart. Wild Hearts. So if anyone has been playing either of those 2, I want your in-depth
Try to enjoy it.
3,000 word reviews now. Otherwise though, what have we been playing? What's everyone been on this week?
PlayStation VR2. Up next, Bungie gives us a stunning new look
Yo.
at Destiny 2 Lightfall, which launches on PS5 next.
Destiny 2 Lightfall, there's a good opportunity for us to ignore State of Play and talk, right? So, unless there are any massive Destiny fans here, but if you're a massive Destiny fan, you probably can't get away to come and talk to me on this little show, right? Atomic Heart is awesome, so very awesome. So Patrick, what I've seen of it looks like visually it does kind of live up to all the vertical slice trailers that they had before, and yet it didn't review very well, did it? Or it got quite mixed reviews, and I've not read those reviews. I don't know what people's problems with it were, so I'm very curious what real people like you think of it now that you're in it and playing. I know the Dodge Knight is enjoying it.
Keep the enemy away from the traveler at all costs.
I think Colt hit a game-breaking bug and got a bit frustrated with it. Kratos, this is a Destiny trailer, yes. I can't say I know what's going on. I have not followed the Destiny story
have lives to spare.
Like some weird alternate universe Thor has shown up with a rocket launcher.
Brings you pain. We know pain.
That didn't sound like Peter Dinklage. Yeah. You put 4 hours into Atomic Heart and you're enjoying it. It's missing HDR and Dolby Vision, so you're finding some dark scenes frustrating. It's surprising how many games miss HDR altogether. And it's surprising how few people know it on outside of the Xbox ecosystem. If you play on Xbox, it's very, very noticeable when games don't have HDR because the TV stays in standard definition, but most people on PlayStation and PC have HDR on or off and don't necessarily have the eyes that can tell the difference. Some of the best looking stuff though, like that Matrix tech demo, that didn't support HDR. So you can achieve good visuals without it. And oftentimes when it does support HDR, it's just a normal game wrapped in that. So it's a strange state of affairs. Some games use it really well, like actual Sea of Thieves and Forza and Gran Turismo. There are several games that have really good HDR. And then there's the likes of Cyberpunk, where it was broken for a year. Not Cyberpunk the entirety of the game, I'm talking specifically about the HDR. What is this nonsense? Get it off my screen. Is this still Destiny? It's too peaceful. I want my gaming to be like violent and chaotic. Oh, there we go. Her eye just exploded all green. That's what I'm looking for. Kratos, you put around 10 hours this week into the 3DS Metroid Samus Returns. On an actual 3DS, or is that one that you can play on the Switch? KY, I was not up all night playing PSVR2, but I have played a fair chunk of it today to catch up and put it through its paces a bit more. Nearly did choke on a cable. I got so tangled up in a cable. I didn't just nearly like choke myself, I nearly took out half the furniture in the room where it started snagging on things. Good times, good times.
Let's take a look at what's in store next month.
Oh look, it's a day one on PlayStation thing, I think. You can't put Battlefield 2042 on it. Or Minecraft Dungeons, that's illegal. And we've got Uncharted, and so Ghostwire Tokyo being there means that it's coming to Xbox at the same time. And apart from that, it was too fast and I didn't see it. Well, I did. Chris Blackburn, you found the combat challenging at times. You think with the more basic of bad guys. So that's Atomic Heart. Is the movement weird? Is the combat difficult because it doesn't move how you'd expect from other first-person games? Here's a glowy dog. And a horrible trailer. It makes horrible noises. Blueberry pancake mix, good choice, good choice. Wait, you put the blueberries in the mix? That's cheating. I hate this game. I hate the trailer because it's making my ears irritated. Even though I said that it's got chaos in it, and I do enjoy some chaos. Someone tell doctors about blueberries. They have cured your illness. Well, that's fantastic. Mix more into the pancakes then. Each enemy type has their own weakness and resistance. You have to use the right weapons on the right enemies. And is that like is that something that you it's like intuitive, you know what kind of weapon you're supposed to use because all the robots are weak to lightning or something? Or is there some like obvious tell? Do they glow blue if you're supposed to use a certain ability or something like that? This was supposed to be VR. This came in front of me. I can see this being VR. I still hate it. Not a fan of this. I like that all those people died. Oh, they didn't. I can't even take in what's happening in the trailer because the annoying cutty track. Gotta use your brain when playing the auction house. Oh, it did say VR. I didn't see. Thank you for paying attention, Space Denizen. Thank you for stopping by as well. Space Denizen, tell me your week of VR goodness. You're the usual like biggest advocate of the technology here. Like besides myself. Are you on the PlayStation VR2? Pumpkin in VR. Look, Nitsua, welcome. Lots of people turning up to watch State of Play.
Make an impact?
Yeah, perfect. Go with that.
Are you okay?
This one, I'm surprised that this was shown so long ago.
Is important.
And that dinosaurs smoked. No wonder they were extinct.
I said it was an emergency.
You did?
Why have you got a whistle around your neck? Nobody blows whistles. Oh no, it's a rhythm game. Yeah, so I'm not typically against games that are like off the beaten path, unusual. They don't need everything to be a AAA cinematic experience. But this one in front of me, I don't think looks very good.
But there's only so much time we have left.
So it better tell a massive, heart-wrenching, brilliant story. To be fair, it is set in a school, and I'm massively averse to any game that is set in a school, really, apart from Lollipop Chainsaw. You're a dad dancer, no rhythm. Ah, I'm brilliant at Hi-Fi Rush, though, so my rhythm must be perfect. Yes, Pixel Bit G, that game was shown ages and ages and ages ago. Space Citizen, you're loving PSVR2. Good, you can stick around for that conversation and tell me what I'm right and wrong about. Because the thing definitely has some flaws as well as being absolutely brilliant. I love it as well. I was playing with it today, like, without that new toy buzz.
Because we're friends.
To get a more kind of balanced perspective of it, I suppose. It is brilliant, though, I will say that up front.
My blood is boiling.
Chris, you found yourself running back to save points after spending time scavenging. Scavenging, you spent a bit of time doing only immediately losing a battle, losing everything that you picked up. So, should I look to get to Atomic Heart even before it comes to VR? You have a couple of gripes, but overall pleased. Yeah, I think realistically, there is no perfect VR headset on the market yet. There should be a couple of gripes, but you should take them with with realistic expectations. The good definitely outweighs the bad. So people, if you go into any product looking for flaws, then you're definitely going to find them, but I don't find them front and center of the experience by any stretch, apart from the cable that did try and kill me today. Looks like poo, smells like poo, probably smells like honey. Look up, Nitsua. Good, I think. Naruto, please die. It's a bit dramatic, Tony. You want the IP to die or the character?
Captivating fantasy worlds await in our next 2 games.
What's up with the noses? I wasn't even watching that trailer. Larian, is it? Yay!
I'll tell you a story, true soul.
This is a game I'm looking forward to, despite having not played the first 2. Because I played their Divinity Original Sin games.
It cost me everything.
Which were awesome.
I must finish what I started.
And this looks like more of the same, despite being in a more established IP. So.
Discover Gatherick's secret. Find out what it is that makes him invincible.
I think this is the first time they've announced it coming to console, actually. When they were making the PC build, it's been in early access on PC for about a year. And they said at the time they couldn't get it to work on consoles, but the consoles at the time, when they first said that, were like the previous generation.
You're a pawn, a slave to forces you cannot comprehend.
I've been holding off of playing it in early access.
But you have nothing he does.
because I don't like early access typically. I'd rather play a complete game that works properly and has all the features included. So okay, I'm assuming that was multiplayer split screen they're showing off there. Magical dwarfs turning into bears, critically hitting other bears. So outside of VR, this is the most interesting game so far. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I do really. But Tony, what are you getting all angry about? Lord of the Rings. And then we've got this again. I recognise this. It's Wayfinder. Okay. It's like art style ripped from World of Warcraft, but taking out the world and focusing just on the quickfire dungeon runs. Isn't necessarily a bad thing, but isn't necessarily a good thing either. And it has Fortnite style HUD. Bleh. No, that character's too Fortnite. Okay, don't like this game anymore.
Wingrave slices through the fray while also supporting the group. With another victory under our belts, let's head to Skylight, our social hub.
Painful discourse, yes we are. Right, there was nothing I could do. Sony insisted on clashing with my show. So I figured sure. I don't typically go out of my way to do like reaction pieces. I'm not the charismatic type to pretend that everything is shocking and exciting. But it's here, it's on, it's in the way of the show, so what can I do besides show it? Patrick, of course I'm hoping for Fortnite VR.
And you can sign up for the chance to play early.
Of course I am, and like ideally in an official capacity, not just what the modding community is doing. It's not even because I necessarily want to play Fortnite in VR, although I would play Fortnite in VR, but it would set up the future of Unreal Engine 5 as being inclusive of virtual reality, which obviously it is on the back end anyway, but if Epic were pushing it front and center with Fortnite, then that would be good news. Gran Turismo 7 is incredible in virtual reality. I haven't played it in any depth because I haven't set up my steering wheel yet, but I intend to do that tomorrow. But Gran Turismo 7, so say what I will about all of the other games and benefits and flaws and how the thing stands up against PC gameplay. Gran Turismo 7 is the best racing game that I've played in VR. And I've played quite a few on the PC to sample. And I say this as someone that didn't like Gran Turismo 7 prior to it being a VR game. So, who likes Street Fighter? Who is looking to get Street Fighter 6? Not sure it's appropriate to include Zangief this time around.
My beautiful body is built better.
Okay, this is... What's this? Interested in any of the VR titles shown today? Painful Discourse, not from what they showed there. There was the more stylized one from Endreams. I can't remember what it was called anymore. The one that had a lack of colour in its landscape with some shiny neon lights everywhere. I'm interested in that because I know the studio that does it. There was another one from Skybound. So there were a couple of like pretty decent long-running VR studios showing us some games. But there wasn't anything like standout that's going to satisfy the likes of Gaz. Synapse and Foundation, yeah, those are probably the two I'm thinking of. You've wanted to play Humanity since the trailer 3 years ago. I didn't enjoy the trailer. Like, the music of the Humanity trailer turned me against it immediately, regardless of the content of the trailer itself. Space Citizen, I want to know the other things you've been playing, because there are a lot of games available for PlayStation VR2 of mixed caliber, but some of them I haven't actually played myself. Look, you like Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the SNES. Yeah, the SNES and the Mega Drive were the last Street Fighter games that I really got into and enjoyed. Pixel Bit G, I did suspect that it was still Street Fighter 6 because the child looked like the same art style as the rest of it, but then I was like, oh, it's a child. This child's not going to be fighting. That would be strange. And then I looked away, and now it's more Street Fighter stuff. Isla, the state of play is supposed to be 45 minutes, I think. But you can put up the Q&Asa thing, the Q&A. There won't be any need for a poll, I don't think. If there is anyone here that doesn't come in, week out, you will see a YouTube Q&A box pop up. If you have any questions that must be addressed, stick them in there. At the end of the show, we go over them all one by one. Painful Discourse, the only thing that was interesting for you was humanity. Specifically on the VR side. Yeah, I don't think any of them were the heavy hitters that people might have been hoping for, but...
when you need only accept the sacred gift.
Here's one. This, I want to know what the VR content is for this. They haven't said yet. I would have expected that this game would be entirely playable in virtual reality. The only kind of doubt, though, is a contractual one, because there's a Resident Evil 4 remake on Quest already. And I don't know if Oculus have any kind of exclusivity on that. Hopefully not, because I would like to play this version of it. Full VR and cool. Pixel Slappy, you're seeking humanity and Painful Discourse. Been on a journey. Space Citizen still sitting on Resident Evil 8 and Light Brigade. Light Brigade is one of the ones that I'm curious about. Resident Evil 8 I sampled today, just to see what it looks like and how it functions as one of the bigger games. Kratos, you like Street Fighter, you're not good at it. You mostly mash the buttons and use that D-pad like your thumb is on fire. See, when Street Fighter 2 was around, that was okay. You could play it a bit, and I think everyone was the best player that they personally knew. I was the best Street Fighter player that I knew. Doesn't mean I was any good at it whatsoever. Back then you could be good at games because everybody else sucked at games, but then the world opened up with the internet and you kind of realised that actually you were never good at games, and it's like shatters your sense of self-worth, and you spend the rest of your days just kind of miserable. Right? Or is that just me? I don't know. Patrick's talking to Darge. I didn't see Darge. Is Darge here? Were the apples that you were telling about on the floor by the elevator of the first complex? This must be, excuse me. This must be Atomic Heart apples. Not the Horizon Call of the Mountain apples that you can eat. Blah, 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 blah. Oh no, they're trying to sell the multiplayer part of it as well. Special demo coming soon. Everybody expected a special demo of Resident Evil 4. Capcom do that. Gaz has turned up. No, he hasn't. Why are you talking to people that aren't even here?
It's not over yet. It's Harley Quinn, Deadshot, King Shark,
Is that it?
and Captain Boomerang against the world's greatest DC superheroes in this extended look at Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Let's hear from developer Rocksteady.
I don't want to hear from the developer. So I'm going to blame them back down there. I'm going to shut him up for a minute and put the OST back on. When the gameplay comes back on, we can hear it. Darge Knight. Yes, you can have whoever you're talking to, you can have their thighs, yes, for sure. When is State of Play? This is it, Darge, in the background, live. They've shown most of it, and they're going to run it off with Suicide Squad, and I think that'll be what closes the State of Play, which overall hasn't been particularly interesting, really. But it is just a State of Play. Fine little events. What did they show? They showed Street Fighter 6. I can only remember the one most recent thing that they showed. Is this guy talking? Yes, Patrick, but I shut him up. Would you like to hear him? Oh, he's gone. You would have heard him, but you can't. Darge, Atomic Heart is fucking incredible. Good to know. This was a specific question that I asked everyone not too long ago.
Hold on a sec. Hello, Brainiac. Is it happening now? Great. You will have Luther ASAP.
So, we'll leave Suicide Squad playing in the background while we get onto the usual topics, and we can comment on that as it goes on the side. So let's do the proper bit. Normally at the start we talk about what we've all been playing. It didn't happen because this whole show started right at the beginning, but we're going to do it now. I've asked specifically about Atomic Heart and Wild Hearts. Nobody seems to be playing Wild Hearts. No painful discourse, I'm on live chat. I'm just not doing a very good job of keeping up with everything, but thank you for the usual reminder, because I do suck.
Flash is alive. And he has Luther.
So no one has been playing Wild Hearts. That's interesting. It is an expensive one. I thought people might have at least played the 10-hour trial to get opinions on it. I have it downloaded, but I didn't get around to playing it at all. So what have you been playing? What's good and what should I be playing? Tony's playing God of War and Atomic Heart, and hasn't given me any feedback on Atomic Heart. How are you finding God of War, Tony, as a non-PlayStation person going through the back catalogue? How are you finding that one? Dodge is on Atomic Knight, I'm aware of that. State of play, more like piece of garbage. I don't know what that means. POG. So we're going with piece of garbage. Painful Discourse isn't happy. Patrick is also going through Atomic Heart, a bit of Skyrim, and learning about binary search trees this week. Fun. So you're doing, this is your game dev stuff, isn't it? I want to be learning things too. I haven't had time. Started going through some Unity stuff and fell off of it completely because there's so much going on all the time. Kratos, you got hooked on Call of Duty Infected. Fair play. I'm not a Call of Duty person, so if I was, I'm not in the bath either, so no you're not. If I was, Infected would probably be more fun to me than the competitive modes. I reckon I'd recognise like who to kill when they're zombies. Not much time to play recently. Painful Discourse, I also have spent time as a grown-up and I know how that goes. But I've managed to play quite a bit this week. I have been playing quite a few things. Hi-Fi Rush has been a long-running one for me and I still haven't finished it. I really wanted to finish it before the PlayStation VR came. I thought I'm going to have a crack at this and see how I can go. But it's not that short. I am near the end of it. I'm not going to talk about that one in any depth today because it's been every week for the last 2 or 3. Tony's given some feedback on God of War. He's enjoying it. The only thing he doesn't really like is when he pushes the chain down, Kratos keeps flexing his muscles and going down the chain when you don't want to do that. If you say so, Tony, you're the one in control. So, I've also been playing though, and I streamed a couple of these, so if you've been a regular on this channel. Wait a second. I need you to edit the stream info. I don't need you to edit any stream info. It's all fine. Unless I'm missing something there. I don't know either. I've also been playing live on stream. I played some Marvel's Midnight Suns. So, apart from the wires, what am I playing today? I will get to the VR stuff in a bit. Look, Mitsuha. Marvel's Midnight Suns. So I did this one live. I expected it to be like XCOM styled, but with the Marvel characters, just because it's from the XCOM developer. So I thought it'd all be a grid-based tactics games, and I didn't really know how the card element of it worked. I was quite surprised to find that actually it's primarily card driven. There is no grid to move around, and it's very good from what I've played. I want to play through the rest of Marvel's Midnight Suns, but I do not own it. I just played the 2-hour trial on PlayStation. So I will wait until I can get a hold of that one and feel like playing some Pancake games, but I will definitely be getting through it. Do we have any Marvel's Midnight Suns fans here watching? I know Peter Morland was interested in it, but hadn't at the time played it just yet. It's really good. It's got the same issue as like the Marvel's Avengers game had dodgy versions of the heroes, but they were like fairly uncanny close to the cinematic versions, whereas this guy's too loud. Shut up a minute. Hopefully he's not. I don't want a multitude of voices like making it a horrible auditory bombardment. So strange conversations. We're not. It's not a nudie conversation. Tell me about Marvel's Midnight Suns. It's really good. That's what I'm saying about it. The characters are not particularly well drawn, so you don't get the whole conflict with the cinematic universe. Doctor Strange is pretty annoying, but most of the characters are. Blade is hilarious. If you like jokes, you're gonna love Marvel's Midnight Suns. The jokes aren't very good, but the game is very, very good. Recommended. Give it a go. You're not into card games, but you still like it, Patrick. It's not a card game in the sense that like Gwent and Hearthstone, things like that are card games. It's very different to that. But you would need to like, I would say at its core, it's like turn-based RPG combat. So the cards, I didn't get far enough to really uncover the mechanic of like earning new cards and things like that. But it's more like it's a turn-based combat game where your available options are dictated by which cards are put in your hand. And those abilities are all like Marvel heroes doing punching and spells, whatever they're going to do. So I can't say if you like it for sure, because I don't know what kind of games you really like, but if you like that style of combat, it's there, it's good, it's fun. You can check the stream, it's still on the channel, if you want to know a little bit more about how it runs. I've also been playing Legend of Dragoon, which I streamed as well. I streamed that a couple of days ago on Pancake Day. So Tuesday, at least in the UK, was Pancake Day. Day to celebrate Pancake games before the PlayStation VR2 came out. So I did that. Played that on stream. It is very much traditional PlayStation 1 era Japanese RPG. Turn-based, menu-based combat. And yeah, it's old and cool, and I was having a good time playing that. So like Marvel's Midnight Suns, it's very much on the list of things that I want to get to and play. Legend of Dragoon has been on my backlog of games to play for the longest time. When I think back to it about like where does my backlog start, I've had The Legend of Dragoon as being at the top of that list for a long time, despite the fact that it's not exactly. There are a couple of older games that slip around the list, but Legend of Dragoon is one of the oldest ones. So I played it and I enjoyed it, and I don't know, I think when Legend of Dragoon came out it was reviewed as not mediocre, but not as good as the likes of Final Fantasy. And that's fair. Like, I think if I had played it during the PlayStation 1 days, I would have said, this isn't as good as Final Fantasy 7. But going back and playing it when games are just not like that anymore, it's really good now. I was a big fan of it. Legend of Dragoon is on your emulator. You're going to need to try it. Only if you like old style Japanese RPGs, Tony. Cringy dialogue, turn-based combat. The combat isn't particularly good from what I've seen. It's a kind of backwards kind of nostalgia, because it's not something that I have experienced directly. I've never played Legend of Dragoon, but the fact that it is so similar to old things that I did play makes it strum the nostalgia vibes. So I enjoyed that. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play more of that. Probably not going to stream the entirety of it. Is Spider-Man in this game? Spider-Man is not in Suicide Squad, Tony, no. And not in Legend of Dragoon. But Spider-Man is in Marvel's Midnight Suns. The Sony licensing issue did not cause a problem. Dark Knight, you mentioned Suicide Squad looking less appealing every time. What's my vibe? I've not been watching, actually. It's playing right now. It's...
But also doesn't really know simple words or simple things that are going
like Rocksteady have a massive reputation for doing quality stuff, but they pretty much invented context-sensitive melee combat that you see in every game with the Arkham series. They set a benchmark that everybody's still following and refining, and then they have taken a massive step away from it to deliver something that looks a lot more like a third-person shooter. Looks a lot more Sunset Overdrive than Arkham Knight, and I'm not writing it off just yet. And now I am. I don't like this guy. I don't know. I'm gonna remain optimistic, but obviously it would be better if it was in virtual reality. This game really doesn't look good at all. No, but I want it to be. If nothing else, some of the trailers have walked the line of interest and humor quite nicely.
Insane vehicle creations that let you blow shit up.
And I liked Sunset Overdrive in terms of pacing and action, so you never know. Again, I've not been watching this closely, so I don't really know what I've seen and why I haven't. I know that they're talking too much though, and I don't like it. Stop talking!
It's very grand, it's very clean, it's very functional.
The huge difference between Metropolis and Gotham is that Metropolis acknowledge and really trust.
It's going to be a no.
So there is a lot of statues to thank Superman.
Well,
everything is done for the city.
That's fair. I mean, there are a lot of games to play. You don't need to play every single thing that comes out just because it comes out. May end up being a game that I don't really touch either, because I won't even notice what day of the year it is when I am fully engrossed into racing around Gran Turismo. Something about a naughty jacket. I've completely lost what you lot are talking about, so be it. That's fine. Are the characters sliding like in Gotham Knights? They shouldn't be, because there's not much melee. They don't need to slide into position for the gunplay.
We've got assault rifles, SMGs, sniper rifles, shotguns, miniguns.
Very shooty, lots of guns.
There's added variety from weapon manufacturers.
Yes. Let's move on to what else I've been playing, and maybe run through it quite quickly so that we can get back to playing games and stuff, because that's what I feel like doing really. VR2 has great games, but it doesn't have these games. I wish that Sony would have third-person virtual reality support to HOW, Horizon Forbidden West, but without some letters. So third-person games do work just fine in VR, and Sony have a massive back catalogue of games that they could potentially add it to. The difficulty for them is their first-party offering at the moment is obviously Horizon Call of the Mountain, and it's very, very safe. They're very motion sickness averse, for better or worse. So they might need to give it a bit of time before they start pulling on the back catalogue. But hopefully they will. I entirely agree. There are many of their games that I would like to play from that perspective. Dodge, am I a fan of PlayStation VR2? Let's make that the topic. So this is a topic that could go on for minutes or hours, depending on how much you want to know about it. Because I like VR, and I know like I could talk in depth about VR for freaking ages, but it does. I could also talk very briefly about it. So my first experience of it with PlayStation VR2 was yesterday. I did it live. You all saw it. You all saw my fancy pajamas, and all of that stuff that happened. But when I actually put the headset on and got into games, I started with Horizon Call of the Mountain, and was like blown away by how that game looked and what the headset was capable of in that sense. But that game is particularly bright and vibrant, which masks a lot of the things that the headset doesn't do so well. It's a very vibrant, very lush environment, like branches and grass everywhere, lots of water flowing, glare from the sun, and all of these things. And the game itself is, like I said in the preview of it, I don't think it will last beyond one fancy playthrough just to gawk at everything. But it is impressive as a showpiece for the headset. It's like, wow. Mute source. Blurp. Source can go. We'll stop listening to Suicide Squad for a bit. I think we've seen enough of it, haven't we? In fact, let's just get rid of it entirely. So I'm going to leave it running in case State of Play has just one more announcement at the end of it. But besides that, I'm done with State of Play. You can just stay in the background. So so my first impression of the headset from that, really bright, vibrant screen, almost flawless in its display. Controllers that had not a single tracking issue. Everything was working really well. And I'll get to the game itself now or later. Later. Because I then went on to, I played a bit of Gran Turismo 7. I didn't play Gran Turismo 7 properly. I played it with a DualSense controller. Was that the whole thing? It looks like it might have been, Patrick. It looks like there is no just one more super drop at the end of State of Play. So that was all of it. I can't say it was massively interesting State of Play, and that's fine. Serve Sony right for taking my time slot. So I played Horizon Call of the Mountain, then I played Gran Turismo 7, which is also absolutely phenomenal. Like, just looking at the car that you're in. So Gran Turismo has always had this massive attention to detail on all of the cars, where they probably put too much resource into that, but it pays off in virtual reality when you're sitting in those cars, which was cool, very enjoyable. Just looking around at yes, Painful Discourse, Hi-Fi Rush is the soundtrack playing at the moment. Good catch, considering it was only there for a minute or two. The something don't know what I'm talking about. So Gran Turismo 7, massively impressive. Like, all of the, when you play it in Pancake mode, it got a lot of criticism around like the cars looking good, but the environments maybe being a bit plain or all the rest of it. When you play it in virtual reality, that is just not the case. There are, like with everything, if you go looking for flaws, you can definitely find them. Like the 2D trees following you around is definitely a flaw if you go looking for it. But it has, the world is like, it's really solid and consistent, which is something you don't always get in racing games on the PC side of it. A lot of them have like a bit of a blur in the distance, or some aliasing, or some flickering in the scenery that pulls you out of it a little bit. Whereas Gran Turismo 7 was perfectly solid the whole time around the track. Did I turn on 120 Hz on PlayStation VR2? That's just for playing Pancake games in the headset, that setting. It's not very clear on the dashboard, but it is just talking about the Pancake games, not the actual headset games. So yes, Cyberpunk is the background. You get very few points though, because it's very easy. You can have points though. So Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon Call of the Wild though had two things very much in common, in that they were both very bright and beautiful. It's for games that Space Denizen, it's for, again, the wording says it's for games that support it, but it is talking about the Pancake ones. But reality games that are 120 Hz will play in 120 Hz, whether you have that setting on or not. The problem, so if you actually enable that setting, it gives you a little warning about it as well, that if you do that and you're playing a Pancake game and you take the headset off, then it's just not going to be able to play anywhere. But it doesn't apply to actual VR games. It's a bit different. There's a chance that I'm wrong. I don't have a 120 Hz TV to play with it. But I'd be surprised if they... I mean, it's definitely not running at 60 by default, because that would be horrible in a VR headset. I'm going to do it though. After this, I'm going to go and run that as a precaution to see. 90 default. So on... No, I think that setting is just for Pancakes, but I will go and play with it. I'll find out. How long have you been in there? Like days. I hope you had a good sleep. So Kratos, you checked yesterday for PlayStation VR. It was $819 plus tax with Horizon. Is that well above the retail price, like recommended retail price? That's a weird one though, because if it was 90 by default, then I still wouldn't be able to play that on my telly if I flicked out of it. So that would be a weird quirk on the setting. That is the retail price. Cool. David works for his first point, isn't it? You're making Firewall Ultra. That I'm massively looking forward to. I've got Pavlov in the meantime, but I'm massively looking forward to Firewall Ultra. But yeah, so Horizon, Call of the Mountain, and Gran Turismo Daytime Track both had the benefit of being very bright and vibrant. So they both looked absolutely stunning. Then I went on to... I played a little bit of Kayak VR Mirage. And I put it onto a night... I'm going to say track. It's not really a track. You're in a canoe in the ocean somewhere. I went to the Antarctic, set it to nighttime. And at that point in time, I looked at the sky and noticed a little film. So where it was dark, not black, but dark, then you get a little bit of Mura going on. Kayak is stunning to look around. Like, the game looks so good, but the dark scene did reveal that the headset has what is called Mura, which is an inevitable consequence of the OLED screen. And what that is essentially, just because the way OLED works, and I don't fully understand this, this is going to be a terrible non-technical description, but it's like a slight, very transparent film of pixels that are not a rendered part of the world. They're like an artifact on the screen, and it doesn't show up except when it does. which doesn't make sense. Like, it sounds obvious, but if you have it shows up if you've got like a flat surface of plain color and you move your head around, the surface will move as you would expect, but there's this kind of dim sparkle layer that sticks with you as you move, and then you get it like it separates itself from the background and draws your attention. And it's a really minor problem. This isn't like a massive issue with the headset, because there are big advantages to the OLED headset as well to kind of counter it, but once you've noticed it, then it gets annoying. And it is only, for me, only really visible on dark scenes, non-black. So please don't take Mura as a reason not to get the headset, but it is definitely there. It is definitely a real issue. The other real issues that I noticed today with it, with the screen, and I don't want to run through negatives, but there are some, and I have to acknowledge them. The Fresnel lenses do lead to some God rays. God rays are like the bloom setting in games where you have a horrible glow that shouldn't be there. If you have a really high contrast scene, so the background is like dark and black and whatever, and then you have, say, some white text or something like that, then it's got like a glowy outline that you can move around as you look around. Again, not a massive issue. It's something that's plagued virtual reality headsets for the full 6 years that I've been using them, but it is something that goes away with Pancake lenses. So Pancake lenses being a relatively new thing that you get in a couple of headsets, the Quest Pro, the Pico 4, things like that. So there are contextually, to place the PlayStation VR2 headset like in amongst other ones is a little disingenuous, because it doesn't sit alongside PC headsets and it doesn't sit alongside native headsets. It is a console virtual reality headset, which means the catalogue of games and the experience of getting into those games is very different to any of the other ones on the market. But if you strip all of that away and just look at it like, what are the games like? What is the experience like next to things like a Quest Native or a high-end PC VR headset? You position it, try and find value of this thing alongside there. It's a lot better than a Quest 2. It is a lot better than a native Quest 2. So if people are saying like the price is bad because there's a cheaper alternative, I don't believe that there is a cheaper alternative that is viable that gives you experiences anywhere close to the PlayStation VR 2. If you look in the PC side of things and you go really enthusiast, of course you can surpass the PlayStation VR 2, but it costs a lot more to get to that point. So again, it's a little bit complicated, and I could spend a while kind of drawing a little chart on where these headsets sit next to each other. But unless you're looking at buying, like, unless you're actually particularly interested in PC VR or native VR or all the rest of it, it's probably not all that interesting. So I'm not going to dig into it too much. Tim Pert, welcome along. You're in Canada. No way that you're paying so much, even though it is good tech. It is very good tech. It is very good tech. And the people that are getting it, especially those that have either only played like old VR, like PlayStation VR 1 or one of those horrible Samsung Gear things or something like that, or people that have never sampled VR, are going to have their breath firmly removed. The Vive, yes, the Vive is an example. If you've only played that, then this one would probably be very impressive to you. Kratos, you're going to try and steal it. Fair enough. It's so what else is there? I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's have some questions if there are any, or I'm just going to move on or close off entirely and go and play some things. Kratos, a 20 or 30 series card linked with a Quest 2 wouldn't come close. So there's a question, Q&Asa, that's pros and cons to both setups. So in some regards, a nice high-end NVIDIA graphics card with a Quest 2. So you mentioned a linked cable. I was going to say the only way that a Quest 2 can surpass PlayStation VR is if you take that cable out of the equation. If you want freedom to move around and spin without choking and tripping over, then the Quest 2 is a very viable alternative. Like, that's a big advantage that Quest 2 can offer over PlayStation VR 2. But if you're talking about using a wire anyway, and you're talking about the visual experience, no, a Quest 2 with a high-end graphics card will not get that close to a PlayStation VR 2, in my opinion, from what I've seen of it. The Quest 2, for one thing, if you've got one, then you're probably well aware of this, but it does have binocular vision. So the PlayStation VR's field of view is not massive. It's not like index massive, but it passes the threshold where you can see the inside of each eye. Quest 2 is binoculared because you can see the inside of the lens. And this might be different for different people with eyes in different places, but for me, very much so. I see the curvature as it starts to come to a close. PlayStation VR doesn't have that. It has massively more impressive colours than the Quest 2, like massively more impressive colours than the Quest 2. With a Wi-Fi 6 router, so I find the Quest 2 is actually very good with Wi-Fi 5 as well, visually. I don't think you lose much going that route. You do need to have a good connection to be doing that well. But in terms of tracking and controllers and things, they're fairly comparable. I played a little bit of Resident Evil Village today. I only did the tutorial for Resident Evil Village, but I had a go at it, and it was the first game that had made good use of the triggers to give you a little bit more feeling than you get out of a Quest 2. But tracking wise, they're very, very similar. They're both very capable in terms of tracking, in my opinion. Obviously not perfect when you start waving things behind your head in either case, but both very competent. The lenses are supposed to be better on the PlayStation VR 2. So lenses are an interesting one. It's been a little while since I've actually had the Quest 2 on my face, but both of them use Fresnel lenses. So the Quest Pro uses Pancake, the Pico uses Pancake, Pancake lenses have a much bigger sweet spot. So you can stick that headset on your face like halfway off to the side and you can still see everything really clearly and nicely. No God rays or anything like that. But the Quest 2 and the PlayStation VR 2 have Fresnel lenses and they're quite fussy about positioning. So it's the sweet spot. You have quite a narrow sweet spot and it's quite easy to let it kind of whoosh slightly out of place and get a bit of blur that wasn't there before. The PlayStation VR is pretty comfortable. It pinches the bridge of my nose a bit, but that's a me issue because my nose has just been broken too many times. But it has, I would say, the best Fresnel lenses that I've come across. Which means if you've got the sweet spot in place, there's not really much in the way of God rays and issues to speak of. Like, they are very effective. When I first played it, the first day that I played it, I said specifically, like, I'm not noticing any God rays. It was only today when I went into some real high contrast scenes that the lenses started to play a part in my thoughts. So they are good. The screen is good. Sony said that they used those lenses because Pancake lenses take away a little brightness and they wanted to keep the full vibrance of their HDR displays. And they are definitely vibrant. What I haven't done yet is switch between PlayStation VR 2 and the Quest Pro, which is a thing I need to do. Because it's very difficult to kind of hold a mental picture in my mind of the quality of the image going from one to the other. Whereas if I can play similar games across both, then I'll know where those advantages lie. For me, Quest Pro is obviously a lot more expensive than the PlayStation VR 2, and particularly if you factor in the whole package. So Quest Pro with a high-end PC relative to PlayStation VR 2 with the PlayStation 5, one of those setups is like 3 times the price of the other. It is not 3 times the quality, but it is a better experience. So in terms of what I use going forwards, as someone very fortunate to have those like 2 really good setups, I will use both. I am still going to play Gran Turismo 7 on the PlayStation VR 2. I'm still going to play all the games that Sony bring to it. I'm going to play Firewall Ultra on it. I'm going to play Resident Evil Village if they don't move that across on the PlayStation VR 2. And while I'm doing that, I will not feel like I'm missing out on anything until I choke myself. As soon as I choke on a wire, then I'll be like, oh shit, yeah, this is the PlayStation. But if there is a game that releases on both, then I'm probably on the Quest Pro. There are advantages to that. They wouldn't justify the price of that for most people, but I have one, so you're definitely getting the PSVR 2, but you need to wait for more games that speak to you. So I know you. So do you use your PC VR a lot, Q&Asa? I know you've got the Quest 2. I think you were talking about getting a Pico before as well, but I guess you haven't ended up picking that up. So I would honestly, when I look at the store on the PlayStation, I'm going to look at the store on the PlayStation because why not? I'm going to bring up the VR store on the PlayStation just to whet your appetite. If I can remember where it is. Is it going to be here yet? Here it comes. Here comes the PlayStation. Here's me getting on the PlayStation. I was playing around. Oh yeah, that's how I lied. I said about the things that I've played. I also had a little sampling of Star Wars Galaxies, whatever it is. Home. So we'll have a little look at the store. There's a nice dedicated PlayStation VR2 section right at the top. Few demos, few things like that. This is organised by best selling, so you can see what other people are at, what they're getting on, what they're playing. Horizon Call of the Mountain is the best looking virtual reality game that I've played maybe ever. It's at the very least, it's of the same kind of caliber as Half-Life Alyx. I've not got that far into it, but it looks absolutely stunning. It's full of like very recognizably, this is a demo of what VR can do moments. So you start off with big dinosaurs flying everywhere, and then you go into areas with like little things you can do physically, eating your apples and throwing your plates around and stacking things and all of that kind of stuff. All of those games are on Quest and PC. VR is mostly true Q&Asa, but particularly if you've got the Quest versions, then they're not that similar. So I'm not going to go for every single game, but Horizon Call of the Mountain, alongside Half-Life Alyx, maybe Hubris I haven't actually played around with, but probably the most impressive visually. The game itself, though, is let down horribly by its combat, which is something that I said before it came out and something that I've confirmed true today. So it's a very linear little adventure, lots of hand-based climbing, lots of very safe movement so that you don't get sick. Lots of musical instruments. The whole place is filled with like tactile things. There's tambourines and maracas, so you can play with the sound and like use it as a tech demo essentially. And it's really, really neat until you get into combat, where you get like the archery is very functional and nice. You seem to have unlimited arrows and you're shooting the dinosaurs, but you can't move in the way that you want to, and it lets the whole thing down quite badly. Besides that, though, if you just want to see what PlayStation VR2 can do visually, stunning game. Gran Turismo 7, enough said about that one already. It's my favourite of the racing games, despite having, so I've got a 3090 in my PC and I've played quite a few games there. Gran Turismo 7 is better visually. It's just like fucking hell. Moss Book 1 and 2 as an example. See, I don't really like the Moss games, so I haven't picked those up. And yeah, I don't think, I mean, Moss, actually, as an example, if you're talking about the Index, I would think that Moss would probably be better on the PlayStation VR, but not enough to justify purchasing it. Because the PlayStation VR2 is definitely more vibrant and pretty than the Index, and that particular game doesn't have a whole lot of benefit to the wider field of view. But you do already have it, and yeah, I wouldn't recommend buying it for that. But Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon, like, gobsmacking. Kayak is an unfortunate one. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I don't really know. Switchback is also looking like a lot of fun. Switchback is looking like a lot of fun. So I can't wait for that myself. You won't be getting that one on PC anytime soon. It will be very interesting to see if Sony ever do bring their own games over to the PC space. That would be very cool if they did. You expect the lenses are amazing on the PlayStation VR2. The lenses aren't amazing on the PlayStation VR2. The displays are amazing. The lenses are not as amazing. Obviously, the whole thing comes together to give you the image quality, and the lenses are not letting it down horribly, but they are quite narrow on the sweet spot, and when you get used to a wide sweet spot, that's like slightly annoying. You'll also find, if you're used to an Index and you move over to PlayStation VR2, you will notice it's a little bit smeary when you move. A little bit smeary as a consequence of the OLED. But so vibrant, so colourful. Like, HDR on it is amazing. Resident Evil looks so good as well. Resident Evil 8. You're right though, there's not a huge amount of games in terms of, if you said you just had a Quest 2, I would say like you should be getting on the PlayStation VR. It's better in every way, but if you've also got decent PC VR, then the overlap is more significant. So fair play, give it a little wait for Firewall Ultra, come and join me on that. But it is really like the PlayStation 5 punches well above its weight in terms of specs relative to what you can get out of a high-end PC. It punches well above the foveated rendering tricks that it does and things like that. It's just properly impressive when you're in that headset. That state of play was trash. I don't disagree. I didn't see much of interest in that state of play. Kieran Rice, trust Trust me, you have to try the kayaking game during a daylight level. It's mind-blowing visually. Kieran, you're not wrong. The reason that I said I'm a little bit disappointed with the kayak game is definitely not visuals. Visually, it's incredible. Even the swimming pool that you start in is like, holy crap. And I got to attack a fish with a paddle. Like, it's a fun game. But I wanted it for the racing and the time trials. And they're ruined by cheesy fuckers. And the problem with the boat game is it you don't really have hands in it per se. It just assumes that your hands are on the oar, and it doesn't penalize a narrow grip, so you can play that game properly and paddle around and get quite tired and have a good time, but you will never compete with the people that are holding the grip narrow and doing this and just turboing around in the water with a stupid little... And it's a shame because it completely undermines the entire speed running part of it on what would otherwise be a really fun part of the game if they had like a minimum distance or a proper way to hold it so that everyone had to play fair. It'll be very difficult. I don't know if they can very easily like retroactively fix that, strip off the high scores from the people that were turbo rolling. But if you want it, in terms of the relaxing element of it, if you just want to sit in that boat and move around and explore the areas, then yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. It definitely is. It would also be a good example for me if I were to try it on a PC headset to do a side-by-side play. How does that one look with and without the whole HDR capability? It would be a fair sample. How's the gameplay on Call of the Mountain? Visually it looks insanely good, but the gameplay looks like Climb with very limiting combat. So yes, Q&Asa, that I did just go over that, so I don't want to overly repeat it, but you're spot on. Climbing is fine. Like, climbing in VR games is a good, safe way to move around. It makes a lot of sense. Getting from point A to point B is I will say, actually, the climbing in Call of the Mountain isn't quite up to the standards of even things like Zenith, in that, much like a proper PlayStation game, you are quite limited. Oh, shit. I had a momentary disconnection there. That's sad. Hopefully we're live again now. Tony did it. So yeah, lots and lots of climbing with your hands. Very good way to move around without being sick. The combat is horrible. Combat is unfortunate. The bow and arrow works just fine. Shooting is like, there's no issues with tracking. The way that the rings on the controller are positioned, you can pull it right by your face without the ring being a problem. You can use it like a bow and arrow. You can reload guns, all of that kind of stuff. Like, they're well thought out controllers. But combat locks you into a radius around the enemy. You can't move freely. So you'll be walking along and then it's like, oh, there's an enemy, you're in combat now, and it locks you into a circle. And you can like strafe around that circle a bit, and you have to flick I think it's the right stick whenever an attack's coming to dodge, and then get back to your shooting. That sucks. That takes a lot of sheen off the game in terms of its long-term appeal. So Horizon Call of the Mountain, you will use to go, wow, this looks incredible. You might use it to show other people if you're more social than I am, so that they can say, wow, this looks incredible. But once you've gone through it, I can't imagine there'll be much reason to go back. Still worth it just as like a top end visual experience. So for me, I would say. And again, I never want to justify the financial, like the value of anything in that sense, but it's worth it in terms of time. You love the Horizon franchise. We're rare, Q&Asa, people that like that game. I do too. I like the Horizon franchise. I like that game. I've met Aloy now and tried to punch her. Didn't let me. But yeah, it's got lots of like little things to show off what the headset can do. So makes sense, but if they just freed up the combat, there would probably be a lot more to it. I don't know. That's the game. I have not answered the question. I'll get to the questions in just a moment. But 300 plus hours into Forbidden West. Tell me you finished it in that time. Dodge, I don't ignore anything. I ignore some of the comments. It's very difficult to keep track of everything. I'm not on form today. I apologise. I apologise for that, but it is what it is. What else? What else? I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. Let's do the questions. But do keep the comments coming as well. If I've not answered things that we were midway through discussing, conversational is good. Formal questions are good too. Dodge, yeah. You're the least ignored person, right? Because I've responded to you twice now. 300 hours and you haven't finished it. Your daughter and you are running around hunting big monsters. I'm not far into it. I don't know. I'm definitely double figures on Horizon Forbidden West. Story-wise, hasn't quite got its hooks into me. World size is a bit daunting, so I don't know. I will get through it, but I've just got so much to play that when a game is huge, it's to be fair, it was Hi-Fi Rush that took me away from it. It stole me away from Forbidden West. But I do really like I enjoy the combat, not the melee combat. I don't know why that's even a thing really, but I enjoy the combat in that game. And you're choosing not to finish it. Fair, right? Let's do these questions. You did a bad thing to get that question up. What kind? Well, I don't need to know. It's fine. So when I said that my experience, let me click and see who's asking. KY, when I said that my experience on PlayStation VR2 was phenomenal, was it just talking about the visuals, or is the gameplay to make it more than an expensive visual treat? So when did I say that? That was on Horizon Forbidden West, right? In which case it was the visual experience, the technical experience. It's not entirely visual because it's also like the tracking and the audio and things like that. The way that it all comes together to put you into the game is phenomenal. The game itself, Horizon Forbidden West, like I say, worth the sensory experience of going through once. Probably won't play it again after that. But I don't want that to sound like I'm really undervaluing it, because that sensory experience is still like, it's incredible. So that. Next question. While we're on it, Q&Asa, if you weren't doing so many of the side missions and things, how long do you reckon Forbidden West actually is? That's a question back to you. Next question. I yell. I have the adapter that I need to use a steering wheel for Gran Turismo 7, so I'll be getting onto that soon. 40 hours maximum. That's quite long. And I'm not skipping all of the side quests. I'm skipping all of the boring stuff like the hunt challenges and fisticuff arenas and all of that crap. But the more story-driven content I do want to do. Do I really dislike the Nintendo Switch? Kratos, do I really dislike the Nintendo Switch? I use it so rarely. I really dislike the Nintendo Switch, yes. Not, dislike's possibly the wrong word. It's more that it doesn't fit me. So, the Nintendo Switch is a great console for people that want to use the handheld functionality of it. Much like mobile phone gaming. In theory, I don't hate mobile phone gaming. Like the rare games that you can buy, the proper games on a mobile phone, not the microtransaction-laden tripe. Proper games on a mobile phone, I can see people liking that, and I don't hate it. But I never play games in that scenario. If I'm playing games, I've got a fancy TV, not a very fancy TV, but I've got a TV in front of me, or I've got a virtual reality headset on my face. And the Switch doesn't fit that scenario. Like, I can put it on my TV, but it just looks like ball bags, which I'm not particularly interested in looking at. So I don't really touch it. And I don't particularly dislike Nintendo. I dislike Mario as an IP and a character, like, not interesting to me. But the Nintendo Switch has had like a library of games that would massively appeal to me if that would fit into the way that I play games, if it would look good on the telly, stuff like that. So no, I don't hate the Switch. It's just not really a console for me at the same time. Next question. Q&Asa said, so it's actually unfair to compare the PlayStation VR2 next gen to the Quest 2, platform not taken into consideration. Do I think that someone should buy the PlayStation VR2 now or wait for the Quest 3? I don't think the Quest 3 will be as good as the PlayStation VR2. I also don't think it will be in the same price bracket. So this is a me thing though. I've said for a while I'm not a fan of standalone VR. So if you're talking about someone waiting for the Quest 3 because they want to hook it up to a PC and play high-end VR, why is the PlayStation still up? Go away, PlayStation. If you're talking about like, that's a different equation to me, like PC VR versus native VR. I wouldn't recommend someone who's into games waits for native VR, because Quest 3 is not going to compare to what a PlayStation 5 can do unless it is significantly bulky on your face. Hooking it up to a PC is a different proposition though, because then you've got the hardware to power proper experiences. So you're right, it's not a very fair comparison, but it is a comparison that people have to make. Quest 2 and Quest 3 later are a less deep investment. So for people that either don't particularly care for gaming in the way that we do, like aren't massive nerds like we are, or just don't want to invest that much into VR, then Quest 2 is a good entry point to VR. But for people that want big games, that are familiar with the console or PC experience, and want to kind of translate that in some way to a virtual reality headset, Quest is only if you've got a PC, and then the financial proposition is very different. PlayStation VR 2 all the way for me on that particular question. I've always felt that when they introduced the first Quest and the whole concept of like onboard hardware and native virtual reality, it made a lot of sense. And it stopped making sense a couple of years later when they got really good at wireless VR. So I would be most pleased if Quest 3 shocked everyone by being a console instead. Like, not competing in the Pancake space, but by taking the hardware off of your face and putting it somewhere else. I see very little advantage to keeping that hardware strapped against your eyes. Do we know the specs on the Quest 3, Patrick? I don't at the moment. There are some pretty solid rumours that get around. I can't remember the chap's name. But there's a leaker that posts pretty accurate schematics for Meta's headsets well in advance of them coming out. So if you wanted the Quest 3 specs, you could probably go and get most of them, yes. Okay, Sensi, when you compare, you only consider the connection to the PC. You don't consider the tech on face a valid option. The Quest 3 may have foveated rendering. So thing with the Quest 3 though, having foveated rendering, is it would require support on the PC side of it, and I don't know that Meta give a shit about that anymore. The Quest Pro obviously has foveated rendering, but I can't use it in a meaningful way with the PC, only for its native applications. And unfortunately, I'm not sure that Meta's PC support is going to get better rather than worse. So we'll see on that one. I think at the very least it should maintain what you can already do with a Quest, but I'm not sure they'll shoot for the stars and do anything new. And PC VR definitely needs an injection of creativity and games. So, Dodge Knight said, I'm currently bathing and just wondered if you're a Radox or Bayliss and Harding man. Also, are you looking forward to Resident Evil 4 Remake? Thanks, huge fan of you and your work. Heart emoji. Thank you, Dodge. I'm hoping that you are enjoying your bath. I have never used any Bayliss and Harding products, so I'm going to have to go with Radox. I like the shade of blue that the default one comes in. I don't know if it smells nice or is remotely effective, but it is a nice colour. And I'm looking forward to the Resident Evil 4 Remake. I really liked Resident Evil 2 Remake. I really like Resident Evil 3 Remake. Then I started playing Resident Evil games in virtual reality. Even the tutorial for Resident Evil 8 was too scary. The tutorial doesn't even have any zombies or werewolves in it. It's like, these are the buttons, this is how the game works. It's quite neat, by the way, the virtual reality integration for Village. You have a coat on, so you grab like the lapel of your coat and pull it open and grab the torch from the inside pocket and shine the torch around, which is just a neat interaction. But the tutorial doesn't take place in the actual game. It sets you in a little warehouse and just has these like whiteboards with instructions on what buttons you press to do various things, and just gets you to pick up your knife and shoot a gun and things like that. And the very end of it, it sets you with your torch into a dark garage with the lights off and says, right, you need to turn the lights on to exit the tutorial. And there's like a fuse somewhere in the room and a little cabinet box thing that you have to put the fuse into. And it's so dark. And one thing that the PlayStation VR 2 does, I mentioned the mirror when it's near dark, but there is none of that when it's black, because it is a proper OLED screen that can kill those pixels. So black is like deep black, nothingness void. And I was like, Is there a jump scare coming in the tutorial? I'm scared. And they very effectively use the character. I guess you're playing as Ethan in that game. Like using exasperated breaths that you can hear as well to ramp up the tension. And it's just a tutorial. How am I going to get through the whole game? I don't know. Was that your question? It really wasn't. Resident Evil 4 Remake, I'm looking forward to it. I know this isn't the answer that you want. I very much want to know what the VR content is. Is it the whole game or is it a silly side mode? But I've never actually played Resident Evil 4, like the original one, or the existing virtual reality one. I know it's a lot of people's favourite Resident Evil, so we shall see. That'll be fun. When we meet for Din-Dins, you'll get me some Baileys. There's nothing quite like some wild rhubarb and pink pepper. Pink pepper's not a real thing. But if it's going to clean my soul, I'm not sure I want it. I like my corrupt, manky soul. Apart from that, though, so you've answered the question in return then. You're a Bayliss and Harding fan yourself. Understood. John Rocks, the Resident Evil 4 Remake VR mode is in development. Yes, John Rocks, but how big is that VR mode? Like I said earlier in the show, my only concern, I hope that it's the entire game in virtual reality, like Capcom have done with Village. My only concern is that if Meta, Oculus, whoever, had any kind of contract in place to prevent that from happening. Because Resident Evil 4 VR is a Quest game already. The entirety of Resident Evil 4 playable in virtual reality. Made by Capcom for Meta. And I don't want that to get in the way of what the remake is. But hopefully the proper Resident Evil 4 remake will have a nice full virtual reality mode. And then everybody wins. Next question, please. Pink red pepper is great for sweets. Fancy. I prefer like wine gums and stuff. I asked VR content on the other channel or just here. I don't know. I could probably get away with some PlayStation VR2 content on the other channel, particularly if I like go through a review of the headset, because that's like a high interest topic. I think maybe 70 or 80% of the people that are interested in the main channel are Xbox fans, and Xbox fans get upset if you mention virtual reality, so might be spurning our own audience if I did that. But like hot button issue PlayStation VR2 review would probably go just fine on that channel, so maybe I'll do that. Dodge, I don't blow you out for dinner. We're doing that real soon. Real soon. Right, excited and ice chill. Okay, good. That's all the questions run through and done. It's a relatively short show today, but that's always the target, right? So, does anyone have... Tony, does Darge love you? I can't answer that. I am not a mind reader, or a soul reader, or a heart reader. Darge, do any of those things feel anything towards Tony? You're going to have to let him know. Does anyone have any last minute questions or topics to run through that I've forgotten about? Forza Horizon has an expansion, right? Forza Horizon 5 announced a rally expansion today. I can probably bring the trailer up for that. That would be a sensible thing. Why have I got a PlayStation controller? Ah, dropped my PlayStation controller. I've broken everything. Never mind. Forza Horizon. No, don't search on Bing. Who knows what we'll get. Forza Horizon 5. Expansion 2. Yes, that should come up. So, here we go. Here we go. This was announced today. Whoops, wrong buttons. And it's probably great for those of you that don't have virtual reality. Forza Horizon is a phenomenal racing game, looks stunning, is fun to play, and rally driving is the most fun kind of driving. Like, that's a scientific fact. So, Forza Horizon tackling rally content is probably absolutely brilliant. But I will never know because Pancake racing is boring compared to virtual reality racing. Sad truth. Simple facts are facts. It is not an opinion. If Forza Horizon 5 had a virtual reality mode on Xbox or on PC, I would play it forever and ever and ever. It would be like the perfect racing game for me. I would never need another game. I'd want more games, but I'd never need another game. I could play that forever. But on a TV, it just doesn't do it, I'm afraid. Still, it's available in March, and it's probably real good. What have I pressed? What have I pressed? Gone. VR F1 would be class. So the F1 game that came out in 2022 does support virtual reality on the PC. So I could potentially bring it to the PlayStation. It was a massive resource hog on the PC. Like really hard to... You had to tone down settings a lot to get good performance out of it. And toning down settings is never fun, which is one of the reasons that PlayStation VR2 is a joy, because you don't need to dick around with that stuff. You just say, play game, go! And it works. But yeah, F1 2022 had full virtual reality support through it. Power wash simulator in virtual reality, and you're down. Have you considered buying a real power washer, Dodge? Because you might find that even more fun than VR. You wouldn't get to go to like as exotic locations, but I bet you can find somewhere around Westminster that needs a good clean. You have one? Well then, what's the problem? You're the one person that doesn't really need VR. I upgraded from a pony to a horse. Don't know about that. I still love everything. I don't play Switch, but apart from that, I still enjoy a bit of all of the games. VR is my favourite thing, my favourite way to play. But VR is like, you definitely burn brighter and shorter. You can't sit in VR for hours at a time. And there are times where I don't like to play, personally I don't like to play virtual reality sitting down, apart from obvious things like racing games, all for standing up, which is why I keep choking on the cable. I want to stand up and turn around and play these properly. And there are times where you don't want to do that, where you want to sit down and play a Pancake game, but it's just not going to be a racing game for me. There are other games that better suit the flat screen. Racing ain't it. I will play Hades 2 and maybe Atomic Heart, although that's probably going to come to VR soon. Like the devs have said that they're planning to. I don't know what else I've got. Hi-Fi Rush, I'll play some more of that. Legend of Dragoon, so I don't even need it to be games from the future. I'm like the gaming point where past, present and future all converge, and I enjoy all of it. I'll fire up the Saturn and the Dreamcast and all those other consoles that I revealed alongside my pyjamas the other day. What would be my favourite Pancake game to play in VR? You mean like a proper conversion? So take a Pancake game, stick it in virtual reality as a proper virtual reality game. I don't know. Like almost every kind of game actually works in VR. But I know you're playing Lopnitzer. I wasn't taking it personally. I was just explaining where I sit. That's a big question, John Rocks. There's a lot of not John Rocks. John Dunn asked that one. There's a lot of Pancake games that I would like to try in VR. But at the moment, I lean towards genres that just don't exist. I would like tactics games in VR. I would like to play Gears of War tactics in VR. Or like a proper card game where you're summoning giant creatures. Would be cool. These are like off-center suggestions for virtual reality, because everyone immediately defaults to first-person games that you'd play, or like a World of Warcraft or something like that. But actually, I would be a big fan of seeing lots of different, less considered genres start to make their way over to VR. Patrick, you'd play Atomic Heart in VR. Maybe you'll get the opportunity. And they said well before launch, like a year or two back, that it was part of the plans that they had to drop, but they are hoping to do it post-launch. We shall see. Like, if that actually happens, I will pay money and play it. It's in Unreal. Well, there we go then. So at the very least I'll be able to play it via the mod scene on the PC side of things. Exciting times this year, and all the years going forward should see lots of good conversions in the PC modding scene. Needs ray tracing first. I should be playing it now. It's not like it's partly appealing, Dodge. I do want to play it, but I've got so much else to play at the moment as well that it's just taken a backseat. A technical showpiece. I could talk about it on Go Live. Yeah, I'm not like the technical person though. I'm the VR person. Calm yourself. I'll play it. It's just I've got a big list of things that I need to play. A big list of things. I've got to finish Legend of Dragoon first. And Hi-Fi Rush and Horizon Forbidden West. No, Darge, I'm not. 15 minutes until the partner steps up. You have 1k to spend. Would I recommend PSVR2 right now? That's a trick question, Lurp Nitsua. You know that I would. Exceptions being if you have a great PC already. That's really like it's a loaded question. The PlayStation VR2 is a phenomenal device. Will it have games in 2 years' time? I don't know. I'm not psychic. Does it have enough games to play right now? Like personally, I could play Pavlov and Gran Turismo 7 for many years, but it's not a big catalogue of games, so if you want to wait and see, I couldn't recommend against that. But hardware-wise, it is a very good device. Very good device. Dodge, enjoy your sleep. Okay. Dodge is all clean and shaven like a baby otter. I've never shaved a baby otter, or got close enough to one to know like just how smooth and hairless they are, but I will take your word for it. Not a trick question. My partner will ask me to leave. Something 45. I don't understand. 15 minutes till the partner steps up. My partner's gonna ask me to leave. No, don't understand, but that's okay. I'm missing out. When I am next at the zoo, Darge, I will jump into the otter enclosure. And I'll let you know how that goes. Dolphins, I understand those. You regularly shave an otter at the local ottery. The same otter, or do you like go to a different one each time? Who knows? Once a month at least. On that, hour and a half done. I'm going to set up my racing wheel on Gran Turismo 7 and piss around for a bit. Or I'm going to get back to Horizon, or I'm going to, I don't know, I'm going to play one of these things for a bit before I go to sleep. So, I'm going to say, no, there's not 13 minutes of the stream left. We're done. This is the end. I'm rounding off, wrapping up, losing my voice, and going to play some games. So, again, thank you everyone for being here and talking to me and asking questions and listening to things. There will obviously be more next week. There'll be Go Live on Saturday. Don't know who the guests are yet. Hopefully we'll have fun ones. If you are playing Pancake games as well, but especially if you're playing VR games multiplayer, then shout at me with your platform usernames so that we can get involved and play some of that together. And yeah, thank you, Painful Discourse. I know everybody is a massive fan of virtual reality. It's always going to be a part of what I do. Cult of the Lamb on sale. Is Cult of the Lamb worth it? Did you like Death's Door, Tony? Cult of the Lamb is not the same as Death's Door, but the combat is the same as Death's Door. And you can cultivate... In fact, you saw me play it. You were in my cult. You can cultivate your little group of followers and choose to murder them if you want to. So it's fun in that sense. Like part Animal Crossing, part Death's Door. If you like both of those games, have at it. I didn't enjoy it that much because I didn't like the combat that much. It's all very, like when you go out venturing, it's all very enclosed, small space Death's Door combat. But a lot of people love it. On that, like I said, end of the show. Next week I'll make more effort and get a fresh, unique background, hopefully, if I have time. Maybe. Nobody else puts in this much effort. Right, I'm good to you, really. Xanthia Phantom, you've shown up right at the end, but you are very welcome. Anyone know if Sony has addressed the issues with the Sense controllers not working in-game? Xanthia, I saw someone complaining about that in on the old Twitter. A VR content creator in particular was having trouble with their left DualSense controller. I've not come across it myself. Mine have been like perfect. I don't think Sony have publicly acknowledged it at all, and I don't know how widespread it is. I can only speak to my own experience with it, and they've been just fine for me, fortunately. No more electronics near bodies of water. I don't know about that, Dodge. Anyway, like I say, we're done for now, so please do hit like buttons, dislike buttons, any other buttons that YouTube has to offer. All the buttons are good for me. Caress them one by one. Preferably leave the thumbs up at the end of it. And I will see you on something else, something soon. It's going to be great. Everything's great. It's all great. Eee.